That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Alright guys, y'all have been showing fantastic support for this channel. I really thought it was going to take us a little bit longer to get going, but we're already closing in on 1,000 subscribers. That James Robinson video kind of blew up, and thank y'all all for the support. And how we chose to break down Jerry Jeudy in this video is I just went down to the comments, and after that blow-up game from Jerry Jeudy on Sunday, this is the player that the majority of y'all wanted me to discuss, so of course we are going to do so. So guys, for our next player, please go down to the comments. Please let me know who you want to hear. Of course, we are going to continue covering these rookies because this 2020 class of rookies, I mean, we were excited about this class going all the way back to 2018. We were looking out and be like, oh my God, look 2 years from now. Look at how talented that 2020 class is. And honestly, not only have they lived up to that long time expectation, but they are surpassing it. So I want to continue to focus in on this rookie class. But guys, please go down and let me know what rookie y'all want me to cover next. And now let's get into Jerry Jeudy. Okay, so with Jerry Jeudy, yes, this was a wide receiver that was in that same tier of player as CeeDee Lamb after the NFL draft. As soon as we actually saw the landing spots before we had the chance to go and dive into it, I actually had Jerry Jeudy ranked as our #1 wide receiver overall. We did eventually change that to CeeDee Lamb, keeping them in the same tiers though, mainly because of the research that other smart people did, mainly just because I really listened to these people that I did respect and really looked at that Dallas Cowboys situation in a little bit of a different light. But regardless, we still loved Jerry Jeudy, and this was because he was that first-round drafted wide receiver coming out of Alabama, landing in what was perceived to be a bad spot with Courtland Sutton. But y'all know that I said that Jerry Jeudy was the wide receiver that I wanted in Denver over Courtland Sutton, and so that's why we faded Courtland Sutton as hard as we could, bought into Jerry Jeudy. Now, I don't necessarily want to say that was the correct decision. We'll get into that later on in the video. But yeah, regardless, we loved the talent coming out of Alabama. He was just in a wide receiver room with so much other talent, with Henry Ruggs going in the top 10 of this past year's draft, with other players such as Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle. We actually saw Jerry Jeudy have the ability to go out there and separate himself from the rest of this pack. Yes, it was a little bit concerning looking at the overall situation and saying how much of it was Jerry Jeudy, how much of it was the overall offense, but you just spent 5 seconds watching this wide receiver on the field, looking at that nasty yards after the catch ability that he had, and then really you could fall in love. So he goes in the top 15 picks of the 2020 NFL draft. And really, this is a wide receiver that was being drafted at the end of the first round of our 2020 Superflex rookie drafts, and we are just all about the value there. And so far, through 9 weeks at the NFL level, Jerry Jeudy has actually averaged 60 yards per game and almost 8 yards per target, specifically 7.9 yards per target. And if we try to go out there and do a little bit of research and seeing how many wide receivers have done this dating all the way back to 2000, there have actually only been 21 rookie wide receivers that were able to have the volume of 60 yards per game, as well as the yards per target of 7.9. Now, out of these 21 players, 3 of them are other rookies in the 2020 class, as Justin Jefferson, as CeeDee Lamb, as T. Higgins, so we can't really use them in the sample to try to determine his trajectory throughout his NFL career. But if we look at the other 18 players, 15 of them had significant impacts in their NFL career where they put up multiple wide receiver 1 seasons over the course of the next 5 years. So obviously this is extremely optimistic with Jerry Jeudy, who is actually a 21-year-old rookie wide receiver coming into the NFL. Now I'll say a few things here. I am actually worried about his long-term projection in that they don't have quarterbacks figured out. Just knowing that Drew Lock has not necessarily looked like the player that they wanted him to, and this team is also 3-5, so it's not like they have the luxury of going out and getting a Trevor Lawrence next season. They are going to have to be in that no man's land where they need to try to determine if they want to try to move up in the NFL draft, if they want to try to make a splash in free agency, or if they are just going to try to roll with Drew Lock. So that is one concerning thing about Jerry Jeudy's 2021 value and so on. But the other concerning thing is Courtland Sutton coming back into this offense. Now, I referenced earlier the fact that I said Jerry Jeudy was the wide receiver that I wanted in Denver, and I still stand by that. I think if we were having a Dynasty startup draft right now, most people would take Jerry Jeudy over Courtland Sutton. But the problem here is we cannot ignore the fact that Courtland Sutton himself is a very, very talented wide receiver. And before anyone comes out here, before anyone bashes me on saying that Jerry Jeudy is an easy answer over Courtland Sutton, if we kind of zoom back to see what Sutton was able to do in his 2018 rookie season, there he averaged 44 yards per game, which is significantly less than what we've already seen from Jerry Jeudy. Courtland Sutton was actually a much older rookie as well coming into the NFL. And his efficiency was, yes, a little bit higher than Jerry Jeudy's, but really about the same. So we would expect that Courtland Sutton would have been able to come out and perform better numbers being at that advanced age. Yet that did not happen. And then, yes, I know a lot of people want to claim that Courtland Sutton broke out in 2019, but really that was just the fact that he made some highlight plays. He stayed healthy all 16 games, which put him in the counting stats of a low-end wide receiver 2 last year. But if you looked at his points per game numbers, he was actually a mid wide receiver 3, so nowhere close to a breakout in my opinion. I think what we've already seen from Jerry Jeudy in 2020 makes us want to have him over Courtland Sutton, but still Sutton is going to be there. And now what's also extremely concerning is having Noah Fant on this offense, because Noah Fant is not that traditional tight end. He's not going to be staying in line and blocking for the majority of plays. No, he's going to be running routes. He is going to be commanding targets. And on top of that, they have a second-round pick in KJ Hamler right now emerging in the offense. So with all of these weapons, with no quarterback certainty, I think that, yes, we can look at this overall Jerry Jeudy profile and say that he is definitely probably the most talented wide receiver out of this group. But really, what are we going to be projecting for him in 2021? Is he going to be a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3? I think that's going to be the range based on all the other weapons, and if we have Drew Lock as the quarterback for the Denver Broncos. So right now, guys, I think that maybe we just go out there and sell Jerry Jeudy on the talent. I think that he's going to be a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 for the rest of 2020. And then he's going to progress going into 2021. But we know that with the additional added weapons in this offense, we are actually going to see his volume come down. So I think, yes, we'll see that efficiency go up, but he's still going to be in that low-end wide receiver 2 range, high-end wide receiver 3. So maybe right now, if you could move a Jerry Jeudy plus a small piece to get to a DeAndre Swift, move a Jerry Jeudy to get to a J.K. Dobbins, move a Jerry Jeudy to get to Cam Akers and a small piece, I think all of those trades would be extremely appealing. Even though, guys, I love the player, just in the long term, I don't necessarily think we can bank on the situation. So I'm going to have to list Jerry Jeudy as a sell. This may be the first sell that we have at the rookie position. Like I said, I love the talent. I just don't know if we can bank on that long-term situation. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, please make sure you go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and let me know what rookie you want to see next.